Okay, do we have everyone on?
Yeah,
1, 2, 3, 4.
I'm here.
1, 2, 3, 4. We're missing Mr. Pacheco and Lisa Ingebretson. Ray did say he'd be joining. Yeah, so I'll give him a couple more minutes. Did Lisa happen to? Oh, he is? Oh, there he is. Okay, thank you. If you guys would please keep your cameras on when we vote tonight during the council meeting, you'll be doing a visual thumbs up so that Amanda can record the vote for you that way. Otherwise, we will use the hands app that we have when you want the floor, because that's much easier for me. Does that all make sense? Okay, thank you. Okay, so did we know if Lisa was joining or not?
She's supposed to be.
Okay.
I'll find out.
Okay, we'll give her one more minute, then we'll get started.
And Mr. Mayor, we've actually gone through the first item on the agenda here with Fleur coming around to visit with everybody. So
Oh, good.
I think we're done with that training.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
We're ahead of time. Wait, what? We're giving Fleur just a minute to reach out to Lisa. The first item on our pre-meeting agenda was the team no audio sign-in, and apparently Fleur's already touched base with everybody, so we should be good with the first item. We have a quorum, Carter, so we'll get started, and if Lisa joins us, then so be it. She's getting on? Okay, we're good to go then. Pre-meeting agenda, we've already done item number 1, so Mr. City Manager, the Chinook Trail LAD, if you would, please.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good evening all the counselors that have joined us virtually, as well as those that are here in person. It's good to be with you. We have the opportunity tonight, Mr. Mayor, to discuss the possibility of entering into a partnership with the homeowners over on Chinook Trail for the possibility of reconstructing the primary road that accesses the neighborhood in question. Chinook Trail is located on the south side of Wyoming Boulevard in the neighborhood of South Poplar and Wyoming Boulevard Outer Drive area, and they have had a gravel road for a long time. In fact, I don't think it's ever had any pavement done to it ever that I'm aware of. And there's only a few of those in our community anymore. Chinook Trail is certainly one of the few that remain in that sort of condition. And so their request to the council is whether or not the council would entertain a partnership as it relates to getting that paved, as well as whether or not you would consider an LAD as an aspect of getting the neighborhood there to participate in, their side of the proposal, the partnership, if you will. Council is certainly familiar with LADs. We've done a number of LADs in the past. Council is looking at a proposal very recently, as a matter of fact, for a much larger LAD in the Fort Casper neighborhood. We've done a partnership type LAD very recently with Coates Road, which is another one of those city-county roads that got paved, and without a doubt the neighborhood participated in that partnership. And for those that were on the council a number of years ago, we did the Jade Road LAD, which is at commercial district off of CY Avenue. That's probably been 2 or 3 years now when that partnership was put together. We have a representative of the homeowners here tonight to discuss what the homeowners would like to see, and then of course pertaining to the balance of the discussion, it would help to get some direction and ideas as to what council would like to see by way of a partnership that the city could entertain. And so with that, Mr. Mayor, if I could turn some time over to Mr. Chenoweth, who could help us with this conversation. We also have Alex and Andrew with us, who have participated in the neighborhood meetings out there, for any questions that you might have of them as well.
Mr. Snowett.
Good evening. I don't know if you want me to start, or if you want to start with questions.
Please.
Okay, so I represent, as Mr. Napier said, we are 8 of us as far as neighbors go on Chinook Trail, and it has not been paved. It was initially developed as I think a county, and was later annexed by the city, and the residences there date back to early 1970s, and so since that time there's never been any developments as far as the road goes. Now what we would like to propose is that and we initially were hoping that the city would come forward and do the improvements at the city's expense, but speaking with the city manager, that would be not likely, or less likely, or take a long time, one of the three above. So our proposal would be that we pay a part of the costs and the city would pay a part of the costs, and together we'd get that road developed and improved and just paved. As far as other improvements such as city lights and gutters, sidewalks, those things are not things we're interested in, and so it would be just the cost of paving a road.
Mr. Beamer, would it be prudent to lay asphalt and build a road without having gutter and sidewalks? In other words, is it going to deteriorate the road over time, the edges of the road, without having the protection from the gutter and the sidewalk?
Mayor, councilors, this is a very similar project to what we did on Coach Road that Mr. Napier mentioned. Very rural feel, very large lots, very large tracts of land. Does curb and gutter help protect the edge of the road? It does, but there's a very low volume road. It only serves these 8 properties. And again, it's a very rural feel out there. If you've been out on Chinook Trail, it feels like you're out in the country. This subdivision was annexed into the city in the 90s. No doubt it was developed in the county, hence the reason why it was gravel road to begin with. So, does it help protect the roadway with curb and gutter? It does, but it's already got borrow ditches out there to curtail the drainage. I'll be happy to answer any other questions. But
do we know what you're looking for direction, I'm assuming, so do we know what the cost of the project is, and do we know what the percentage that they're willing to match is? I guess the council's probably going to need some more information before we can offer direction.
Mr. Mayor, we have worked out some estimates as it relates to what we think the overall cost of the project would be. There have been times where the city has actually performed the labor to actually install the road, and as well as partnerships where we have split the cost with respect to hiring a contractor for a lot of the work that takes place in arrangements like this. And so the reality is we have a lot of options we can consider in order to get this done. It's not a huge road section that we're talking about here as it relates to Chinook Trail. Certainly another approach we could take is that the city could split the costs with respect to some division. We certainly talked about a 50% split for the direct costs for doing the project. Andrew has put together some estimates and does understand what we think the cost will be to do the project if we were to hire it completely out. And so for that, Mr. Mayor, if I could turn some time over to Andrew to fill in some of those blanks, that'd be good.
Please. Andrew?
Mayor, Council, when I first presented cost to Mr., I've always been pronouncing Chenoweth. I've been pronouncing it wrong the entire time. My apologies. The cost for city crews to do it was right around $70,000, and the cost for contract crews to do it was in the neighborhood of $106,000. Those costs have since escalated with the price of asphalt. That price of asphalt has gone up substantially since the initial estimate. The cost for city crews to do it now is $113, and for contractors to do it is $144 or thereabouts. So the costs have escalated since we presented the cost before Christmas sometime, probably in November, to that neighborhood. We're now looking at contractors to do it for $144, for city crews to do it for $113, and that, for city crews, it's pure material costs, base course and asphalt.
And the city has the time and the resources to do such a thing, I'm assuming?
Mayor, Council, we would certainly take us away from our other obligations of grading alleys, fixing alley approaches, pothole patching, but we certainly could do it. It's work that we do, and we do very well.
Councilors, any questions? No? Sir, did you have something you'd like to add?
No, I just was standing to answer.
Okay. Carter, I'm assuming if you're bringing it to us that this is something that staff is recommending, would be my guess.
Mr. Mayor, I do appreciate the opportunity to engage partnerships when indeed those partnerships are made available. In this circumstance, the neighbors have expressed an interest and ability to participate and do so at personal cost. And so, my recommendation would be that we do move forward, that indeed we look at it from an internal perspective, if council's okay with that. And from that standpoint, being able to get a road paved when we have parties willing to participate in that cost, I like to be an advocate for those kinds of arrangements. And so from that standpoint, I'd be willing to propose a 50-50 split for council to consider, and go back to the neighbors with respect to the creation of a formal LAD along those lines.
Is that something that's amenable to you, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. And the neighbors of Chinook Trail would want to extend our appreciation for consideration of that proposal.
Okay. Well, councilors, if you're in favor of such a thing, and moving forward with direction, I would take a thumbs up at this time. Okay, looks like we are a go.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for coming in this terrible weather.
All right, you're welcome.
Andrew, thanks for the information. Okay, we'll move right along since we're going to be early. Look at us go. Hogadon Lodge Repair. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, councilors. This is an item that we have, I think we've given you at least a modicum of a heads up about. We've got some settling issues taking place at the lodge. If you're familiar with the lodge, this is in the area where the bar is, kind of the bar space, if you will. We've been watching this progress, so to speak, over the last couple of years, and it does appear that we have the settling quantified, and we understand it, and we believe it's probably settled to the extent that it will move any further. So the proposal in front of you tonight is to allow us to move forward, getting that repair work done sooner than later. We'd like to get all that work done before our wedding season takes place, and for those who may want to use that space, we don't anticipate the work will take a lot of time. We think it'll be done, and of course we have Mr. Lohr here and Alex, who can give us way more insights than I can as to the extent of the repairs and the time. and everything else. But we think we can get it done in relatively quick fashion, maybe a week, for a price of about $30,000, to the point where we think we won't have to do this kind of repair again. So we're hoping that you'll support us in moving forward in that. Again, sooner than later, in that typical capital projects, as you know, for this time of year, we would generally schedule in the next fiscal year, which means starting July sometime and following up later in the summer, which, as you might imagine, would be right in the heart of the uses that we like to try to extend Hogan on into the summer, typically as it relates to marriages and weddings and other rental opportunities for the facility. So with that table setting, if you will, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to turn some time over to Zulima and Bob and Alex to walk us through some of the finer details of what I've talked broadly to you about so far.
Yes, please. And while they're approaching, I'll let the counselors know. One of the questions on your mind isn't Hogadon fairly new? Because it was the first question that I asked, and we only had a 1-year warranty on it, unfortunately. So, Zulima.
Mayor, councilors, thank you for coming out this snowy evening. So as the city manager stated, we have been monitoring the progress of the settlement, so to speak, for certainly throughout the duration that I've been director in this department. And we feel like it's stabilized, and Mr. Lower can speak to that. Under heavy snow load this winter, we haven't seen additional settling, and so that gives us some hope that it's kind of reached its max, and now we can apply the appropriate remedy and not have to worry about it again. But certainly Alex and Bob Lower are here to answer any more technical questions that you might have regarding the project.
While we're waiting on the counselors, I think the first question I would like to ask is how? I mean, the building's 6 years old, 7 years old tops. How does this happen in such a short period of time on new construction?
Mayor, councilors, the building was constructed in 2017, and the foundation or the construction of that bar area where the settlement has occurred was constructed slab on grade construction, and which is always prone to settlement. While looking at it, and as Bob, Mr. Lower, had done the assessment for that, looking at how that foundation or that slab on grade was designed, it appears that it was possible that another type of design could have been made in order to alleviate some of the settling that you see. Slab on grade design, sometimes with the soils that are up there, you may see settlement, you may not. So, and I'll let Bob speak to the type of design that was made. And
yeah, and apparently it was a value engineering judgment. The project was probably over budget. So the kitchen and the bar area, they eliminated the basement underneath it. All the rest of the building has a full basement under it. Those foundations and those slabs are all sitting on bedrock, really, really hard bedrock. So the kitchen and the bar area, the footings and the floor slabs were placed on as much as 12 feet of engineered fill. So when we have the support of this part of the building is on solid rock and this part is on some engineered fill, over a period of time, we saw a little bit of settlement there. The settlement of this engineered fill, even if it was compacted to the specified density, at 12 feet of thickness, you're going to see a little bit of settlement. So, and that settlement, as we stated, we think it's pretty much all done because that settlement will occur rapidly at first and then at a decreasing rate as time goes on. So after this,
Excuse me.
5 to 6 years now, after 6 years now, we can be pretty comfortable with the feeling that most of the settlements happen. And if we jack those slabs up, they'll stay in place then, and we won't see any more settlement. Some of the areas are inside the kitchen where there's an awful lot of sewer piping going down through the floor. The contractor that's gonna do the slab jacking, he's just, in those areas, he's just gonna make sure he fills any voids that are beneath that slab. And there's bound to be some voids under that slab. So we don't want to raise the floor in those areas where we have sewer piping going through the floor, or we will have a separation of the sewer piping and we'll have a heck of a problem. But these guys use a fantastic modern technique of using foam. The foam is injected through small holes in the slab, so it is minimally invasive really on the floor slab. And they have really an excellent control over whether or not they're lifting the slab and how much they're lifting the slab. So, and these guys have a pretty good track record. They're an outfit from Gillette that does pretty much, they do this plus other kinds of foundation underpinning, but it's their specialty.
Amber?
Thank you. On the foam product that you're talking about, is there a life expectancy on that? Would we anticipate that we need to do this again at some point, or are we confident that it would last the life of the building?
No, the foam does not deteriorate at all. It's kind of like all those plastic bottles in the ocean. It stays there forever. The company is given is it a 5-year guarantee that there will be no settlement in 5 years.
Which would put you 11 years out, and then you're pretty well through any settling, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah. Yeah.
Any other questions? Mr. Cathy?
You talked about the heavy snow loading and things. I guess what I would be just as concerned about is with all of the snow we've got, the extra moisture we're going to see due to snow melt. Now, is that going to exacerbate any of the settling with the extra amount of moisture that we're going to have?
Elevated moisture contents in soils do tend to some soils can cause it to be collapsible. Yes. I think at Hogadon it's a situation where it always has had a lot of moisture in the soils. I don't suppose it's ever been really dry. The site is drained pretty well, except of course for the areas where the pavement has settled and now it's draining back towards the building. So that's what we aim to fix, with this project. It involves floor slabs inside the building, but an awful lot of the paving on the outside of the building also is going to be jacked.
You had mentioned there was an alternative to the slab on grade, which would, I would assume, would potentially have been piers with grade beams, and then you wouldn't have had to have relied on so much compacted fill.
Exactly, yes, sir. They could have left the basement throughout the entire part of the building and had a structural floor over the bar and the kitchen. You would have had a bigger basement. You would have not had this issue at all. But it was probably a value engineering judgment. I'm sure there was a case where, well, every project on Casper Mountain is over budget, just because it's on Casper Mountain. And they were looking for some savings.
I'm sure there was financial consideration,
Well,
certainly.
yes.
Mr. Gamroth, your hand was up, now it's gone. Are you still?
Well, Councillor Cathy essentially addressed the question I had, which was, Alex's mention of another design. Sounds like it was a financial consideration. I'd be curious if those financial savings at that time were greater than or equal to the $35,000 that we're paying to repair it now.
That's a great
just
question.
Hoping there's
I
an
think we're probably talking
opportunity
about-
for a lesson learned.
Well, the exterior paving, that would have settled anyway. That would have settled because that would not have had a structural floor under the exterior paving. So we'd still be looking at that. But the floors in the kitchen and the bar, at that time, it was probably about a $20 per square foot difference in cost between the structural floor and the slab on grade. And we're talking about like, how many square feet? 5,000 square feet? Yeah, yeah.
So $100,000.
$100,000, yes.
Thank you.
Sir?
That $100,000 you're talking about, would that have included or excluded the hauling to the mountain of all of the engineered fill?
Yes. Yeah, yeah, I think so.
Interesting.
There
Well-
was probably that kind of savings.
Mr. City Manager, I'm assuming you have the money available to allocate to this, to fix it, is my guess, or you wouldn't be bringing it to us.
Mr. Mayor, you're correct. We would take this out of the Capital Reserves Fund 150, and there certainly is adequate money in that fund to cover the 30,000 proposed cost.
Well, we're looking for direction then from the council. It sounds like it's something that absolutely has to be done, and timing is very important if we want to be able to grab onto that that summer money that place generates for us. So if there's no other comments, I'll accept a thumbs up for the city manager to move forward. Okay, looks like we are a go with that, sir. Thank you very much, Mr. Lohr. Thank you, Zalima. And I didn't get the other gentleman's name. Alex, thank you, Alex. Okay, Mr. City Manager, we are just humming right along. We are on WHAM voting delegates.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Every year about this time, we need to approach the council to get the council's nomination, if you will, for the official voting delegate that represents the city of Casper during the all-member board meeting that takes place during the summer convention for WHAM, which will be in June in Cody this year. And with regard to that voting opportunity, this is where the council's represented pertaining to resolutions that are passed and legislative priorities and so forth that WHAM takes from that meeting forward. Generally speaking, we need 2 delegates and an alternate, if I remember correctly. Yep. And so for those that are attending, we would like to know who potentially that would be so that we could get the names of those attendees as delegates.
Could we please get a show of hands for any of our councilors who are planning on attending the WHAM Summer Conference in Cody in June? In June.
When?
June.
Mr. Mayor, what are the dates?
We'll get them here. June. Jolene's looking.
Yep.
I'm assuming that's a 2-day conference.
It's generally a 3-day.
3-day.
Conference.
I for one will not be going.
June 8th through the 10th.
7th through the 9th, Jolene said.
Oh, all right. Yeah, no, this is old. I apologize. Jolene's right.
7th, 8th, and 9th. So, is there anyone that will be interested in? Ray says no. Lisa?
Yeah, I can't go this year. I'll got business.
I'm sorry, Ray.
I can go.
Lisa will? Anyone else? Pardon?
Like, that's the same week school.
It's the same week school gets out, yep. Kyle, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I intend on going.
You're going? Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, we need an alternate. Anybody?
I can get my calendar up if you want. I can be an alternate. That means I don't.
Who did? Ray, did you put your hand up as an alternate?
Yeah, I've got business in Laramie that week, and then I'd be coming back. So if I had to be an alternate, I could do that. I could swing it.
Okay. Well, there you go. We have 3. So what we need to do now is narrow down between Lisa and Kyle, who would be our voting delegate, I guess, for the city of Casper. Go ahead.
So, Mr. Mayor, if one would be the official voting delegate and then one as an alternate, I think we'll be fine, given the small amount of folks that would be attending. So,
Okay.
if either Councilwoman Ingebretson or, Councilor Gamroth would decide amongst them who could be the official and alternate, then I think we're in good shape.
Okay. Well, Lisa had her hand up first, so but that doesn't mean anything. Kyle, are you okay with that? Okay, very good. So Lisa, you will be our delegate then. You'll have the voting privileges for us up there, and Kyle will be the alternate, but is certainly welcome to attend as well. And Ray, you're off the hook. Ray, you're off the hook.
Fell asleep.
Ray, you're off the hook. He is frozen. Oh, there you are. There he goes.
Pretty stoic there.
Okay, thank you for that. That's all we had on that, I believe, correct? Yes, sir. Okay. Thank you, Lisa and Kyle, and Ray, actually. Thank all 3 of you. So let's move on to our last item in the pre-meeting, which is our agenda review. Mr. City Manager.
Mr. Mayor, I'm not sure that I have a whole lot to bring up as it relates to the agenda review, but I did want to give council a little bit of a heads up as it relates to the snow fighting activities that we've had over the last few days with respect to this most recent snow event. So if it pleases the council, if I could take just a couple minutes to talk through that a little bit.
Yes, please.
As council is aware, we've had just an immense amount of accumulation over the last few days, precipitating, of course, the not only the no unnecessary travel edict, if you will, but also the dispensing of city services, particularly over the last 24 hours. We are in a situation where I would recommend that we hire some contractors, private contractors, to help us in our neighborhoods, in that we've not been able to get ahead of the aggressive snowfall coupled with the winds. We are also facing accumulations that were beyond what we expected with regard to the initial projections for this storm. So my proposal is that we continue tomorrow with some curtailed services, meaning we will have a hybrid, if you will, of delayed service delivery. Our alleys are not shaping up well at this point either, and so sanitation collection will be hampered throughout the next day or so. Also, we have the advantage of the schools not operating tomorrow, at least in their facilities, and so the school routes will not be as much of a pressure point for us, although we do plan to anticipate a lot of catch-up work over the the evening hours and into the early morning tomorrow to get our B routes, if you will, brought up to speed. So I wanted you to be aware of the fact that we are sort of slowly bringing in our services throughout the day tomorrow. I do suggest, however, that we hire some help with some heavy equipment to get into our neighborhoods, particularly some of our more troublesome neighborhoods, and open up those neighborhood streets, residential streets, while we continue to maintain our major collectors and our B routes and get the school routes nice and tight for Thursday opening, if you will.
Well, I will tell you that that is certainly within your purview to do such a thing, and if you have the money to do it, and I know our constituents would be extremely grateful to have a lot of our side streets cleaned up as well. So there's no direction requested, but I would ask if there is any opposition to the city manager doing this. No, I didn't think so. So very good, sir.
Thank you.
Yes,
I
sir.
appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. And if anybody has any questions throughout, please feel free and give me a buzz. I'd be happy to walk you through some of the challenges that we're having right now.
And I'm assuming if there's some companies out there with snow removal equipment, they could certainly contact you and find out if there's a spot you could use them, because I'm sure there are.
Absolutely.
Okay, very good. Kyle, I'm sorry.
I was just going to take this opportunity to, since we're talking about clearing of streets, to remind those snow blowers out there not to do it into the street. Thanks for the PSA. I saw multiple people doing it, and I didn't even leave my house today, so I was being the crotchety old man.
Well, I will tell you, I shoveled from my walk to my fence, and it about killed me, literally. And it's the first ever benefit I've gotten from being the mayor. The neighbor boy come over and said, my mom said I should come and help shovel for the mayor. So he was out there for about 30 minutes. I paid him $40, and he was super happy, and so was I. So, okay, sir.
Along the lines, Councilor Gamroth was mentioning shoveling sidewalks. Do not appreciate people pushing their snow into the streets, particularly on plowed routes where we're coming along and picking up the windrows. You are adding additional burden to the city finances by plowing that snow into the street, because then we are picking it up and having to haul it off. Put it on your yard. The dandelions and weeds will appreciate it. But please quit plowing it into the street.
Well, along that line, the other issue is generally when you push it off the sidewalk, it goes into the gutter, which is used for draining. And we're going to have 50-degree weather next week, and that water's going to need to run. So if we can keep the gutters clean or free, that's always helpful. So, okay, with that said, that'll end our pre-meeting. We will rejoin here in about 3 minutes, and we will start our... I'm sorry? I don't have a hand on here. Amber.
I did have it.
Sorry.
Just quick, while we're on the topic, if you follow the Casper firefighter EMS page, they had a PSA about making sure your vents are cleared as well. Mine were not, coming off my furnace in my basement, so I went out this morning and snow panted up and went and dug them out. So just make sure that you're aware of those things too. Carbon monoxide poisoning, risk when we get snow like this.
Very good. Thank you. Pardon? Outside vents, yep. We will reconvene in about 2 minutes, and we will start our regularly scheduled council meeting. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Casper City Council Tuesday, April 4th meeting. Before we begin this evening, I will remind all four of you in the audience to silence your cell phones. Council meetings are televised and it can be viewed on cable channel 192, which if you're seeing us tonight, you're watching on that. So I now call the April 4th, 2023 regular council meeting to order. Please note that Councilors Bond, Haskins, Engebretson, Pollock, and Vice Mayor Pacheco are attending the meeting virtually. Welcome all of you. Ray, it's nice to see you're not frozen anymore. The chair would entertain a motion to by minute action to excuse nobody because all council members are present. There we go. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion to approve by minute action the minutes of March 7th, 2023 regular council meeting as published in the Casper Star Tribune on March 26th, 2023.
So moved.
Moved by Councilor Engebretson,
A second.
seconded by Councilor Jensen. Any amendments? Please cast your vote. You have all thumbs. Please record the vote.
With all counselors who are attending virtually and all in person voting aye, the motion passes.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion to approve by minute action the minutes of the March 7th, 2023 executive session.
So
So
moved.
moved. Second.
Second.
Moved by Vice Mayor Pacheco, seconded by Councilor Gamroth. Any amendments? Please cast your vote. All thumbs up. Please record the vote.
With all counselors attending virtually and in person voting aye, the motion passes.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion to approve by minute action the minutes of the March 21st, 2023 regular council meeting as published in the Casper Star Tribune on March 29th, 2023.
So moved.
Moved by Councilor Kathy, seconded by
Second.
Councilor Jensen. Any amendments? Please cast your vote. All thumbs up. Lisa? All thumbs up. Please record the vote.
With all counselors who are attending virtually and in person voting aye, the motion passes.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion to approve by minute action the April 4th, 2023 bills and claims as audited by City Manager Napier.
So moved. So moved. So moved.
Oh, goodness. Moved by Councilor Pollock, seconded by Councilor Engebretson. Is that a yes? Okay. Thank you. Any abstentions? Okay. Please cast your vote. And please record the vote.
With all counselors voting aye, virtual and in person, the motion passes.
Thank you, Amanda. Now's the time we invite anyone in the audience or online in attendance who wishes to speak with the council to come forward. If you're attending virtually and would like to speak, please raise your hand on the Teams meeting. Please state your name, direct all questions and comments to the mayor and only the mayor. No personal attacks on staff or council will be tolerated. Council will not respond to personnel matters. These will be referred to the city manager. Questions posed by speakers may or may not be responded to by councilors. Presentations will be limited to 5 minutes, and the duplication of speakers will not be allowed, nor will time extensions be permitted. Please note that public hearings and ordinances each have their own comment period. Please hold your comments on those items until we reach them. Is there anyone in chambers who wishes to approach? Sir?
Mayor, I'm here for the Westridge.
Please step forward to the microphone and state your name, sir.
So my name is Will Gay, and I'm actually here for the Westridge assessment district. Is now the time?
Absolutely.
Okay. So first I'd like to start off by saying I am not opposed to this assessment district. I've only lived in that area for 4 months, and my neighbor has caught me up on everything that needs to be known. However, I would like to express some frustration with the process, I guess. From the beginning, I feel that this has been botched, and it all started with the notice that was sent out to us via postcard, where we had a day of the week mentioned and we had a date on the calendar mentioned, and they did not coincide. And so then the postcard gave us an email address of who to contact in regards if we had any questions about this meeting. And that email address was incorrect. So then I had to go through, normal city services to try and figure out how to get a hold of this engineer to figure out what day of the week or what date this meeting was actually going to be held. And I question how many people did not show up to that first initial meeting because of this discrepancy that we had. Second, the night of that meeting on January 26th, we were all given a great big huge spreadsheet, and basically I'm going to call it a guesstimate of what each resident was going to be expected to pay. And then on March 8th, after you guys approved having this meeting and going through that process, the price went up $1,000 and from what we were given in January, with no explanation of why did it jump so quick. I do understand that as we go through bidding phases and things like that, there's going to be price changes. And I read in your guys' letter that there is a state statute, basically saying that it can't be increased more than 10% because of underestimating and whatnot. So I understand that, but it's like we haven't even got anywhere and we're already seeing price increases. Another issue that happened the night of the January 26th was the only representative from the city of Casper was, I believe he was an associate engineer. And there were questions flying left and right of like, how is this going to be assessed? Is the county assessing it on property taxes? Is the city going to assess it on our water bills? Or if it is the city, are we paying once a month? Are we paying once a year? So there's a lot of unanswered questions with this. I mean, like I said, I totally agree that based on what was presented by the engineering firm, that it has to happen. I mean, when he told us the size of our sewer line, we're like, yes, let's do it sooner than later. But there's a lot of older population, in those neighborhoods in that area, and they were concerned, about some of the pricing and whatnot too. And I don't know how we can get better clarity for all the people that are going to be involved in this. And that's, I guess, I don't know what the next step is. I mean, I know you guys have the ability to, start doing your 3 readings and that, but it seems to me, personally, I don't think we're quite there yet. And that's my opinion.
We only get 5 minutes, and I don't want to take any of your time, but I'll address it when you're done.
No, I think I'm good. It was just, how I'm there. I'm ready for.
Okay, well, in that case, I would refer to the city manager and ask him where do we go from here? How can we get this neighborhood some of the answers that they're looking for that they were unable to attain?
Mr. Mayor, I think the concerns that have been brought forward tonight are reasonable, and without a doubt, we do want the citizens involved in the LAD to be fully aware of the issues and it's a complex arrangement, and so we do want the citizens to be comfortable that they know what they're getting into. And so, I don't see a problem with another neighborhood meeting being set and having another discussion with the community and getting another crack at answering some questions. And so that will be what I'll advocate for. Tonight, you'll notice that we are establishing the date for the public hearing for this discussion, and then, as the speaker mentioned, there will be 3 readings, and so lots of opportunities to answer questions throughout that process as well, which is by design. But nonetheless, I can appreciate where the speaker is coming from, and without a doubt, we want to do as good a job as we possibly can to get the neighbors ready for this fairly significant undertaking and move in the right direction.
Would that be something that would be amenable to your group to have another meeting and maybe have our head engineer there or someone that would have better information for you? Is that something that would be suitable?
I do believe so. I'm not the designated spokesperson
Sure.
for the the neighborhood, but yeah, I think it would be very beneficial. And if somebody knows that answer of like, how is this going to be assessed, and are we paying the city, are we paying the county? The other question that did come up too was, okay, so I go through with this, we make the plans for my repayment over 10 years. What happens if I sell in 3 years? Am I responsible for the remainder of that cost? Does it carry over to the new purchaser, you know, as part of escrow, whatever? That was another big question of how does it transfer, or what does it do?
We certainly have people to answer those questions. In fact, you may have the answer right now.
Mr. Mayor, typically what happens is when it's an LAD that's organized by the city, without a doubt, the neighbors and the property owners would be paying the city directly. This isn't something that would be assessed through the property taxes or anything of that sort. And generally speaking, it's a bill that if it's a 10-year note, if you will, or whatever assessment, then it would be a monthly payment essentially over that period of time. And of course, the property owners can set that schedule, if you will, that you know, they essentially have control over. Council sets the terms as it relates to the period of time that council would like to see those repayments made, but the property owner gets to set the terms as far as within that window, if you will, within those boundaries that council sets on a broader basis. And so a lot of flexibility, a lot of opportunity to try to meet need and ability to pay and those kinds of things within the broader context that council sets throughout the formal construct of the assessment district itself.
And if I'm correct, I believe the LAD is attached to the property, so that would be disclosed at the time of the sale, and the new property owner would then take over the remaining portion of the LAD.
Everybody kind of assumed that, but again,
Sure.
you know what that does to us. So if we do have another, you know, neighborhood meeting or community meeting, I mean, if somebody can be there from the city to be able to explain that, because I know it'll come up again.
I'm certain that we can arrange that for you through the city manager's office. I appreciate you coming down in this weather.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Yes,
I
sir.
appreciate your time.
Any of the councilors have any questions? Mr. Gamroth? You're muted, Kyle.
Oh, thanks.
There you go.
Thanks, Mayor, and thanks, Will, for your comments. Before you left, I did just want to make sure you were aware that page 104 of our packet this evening has method of assessment. Each property should be assessed on the basis of its lineal foot of curb walk based on the lot's frontage length plus the cost for each property's new sanitary service line, so that the total assessment on each property shall be in proportion to the total accessible curb walk. So it's page 104 of our packet this evening if you wanted to check that out.
That may help you if you can access the city's website. You'll see that our packet, our agenda tonight is on there, and if you look at page 104, it'll show you the kind of the outline of it.
Perfect.
That'll help you a little bit.
All right, well, thank you.
And then I'll leave the rest in the city manager's hands, and we'll see if we can get something arranged for your neighborhood once again.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for coming. Okay, is there anyone else in the audience who wishes to? Well, they're all employees, so I don't think so, unless the chief's going to hammer me tonight. Am I right? I'm safe? Okay. Is there anyone online who is wishing to address council during the public speaking time? Well, I see him on here, but I don't see a hand or...
Seth, did you want to speak?
I'm going to actually wait for the liquor first reading.
For the what?
I'll speak there. For the first reading of the liquor.
Okay, all right, very good.
Ordinance change.
Okay. Well, there being no one else to speak or to communicate with council tonight, we will move on. Agenda item 6, establish dates of public hearing.
Establish April 18th, 2023 as the public hearing date for consideration of 6A1A, a resolution authorizing a real estate purchase agreement between Natrona County, Wyoming and the city of Casper, Wyoming regarding the city's sale of 8 acres more or less of property located at the northeast corner of East 12th Street and Conwell Street. 6A1B, an ordinance to create local assessment district 159 Westridge improvements. 6A1C, an ordinance approving a zone change of Lot 1, Majestic Mountain Addition from PH Park Historic to C2 General Business. 6A1D, an ordinance approving the Highland Park Tennis Complex addition and the associated subdivision agreement. And 6A1E, an ordinance approving a plat, subdivision agreement, and zone change for the Lukashevitz subdivision in the city of Casper, Wyoming.
Chair would entertain a motion to, by minute action, establish the public hearing date just read. Moved by Councilor Kathy. Seconded by Councilor Jensen. Any abstention or nay votes? Very good. Please cast your vote. Please record the vote.
With all councilors virtual and in person voting aye, the motion passes.
Thank you. I now declare the public hearing open for the consideration of an ordinance amending liquor license sections in the Casper Municipal Code. Mr. City Attorney, do you have any exhibits?
I do, Mr. Mayor. Exhibit number 1, correspondence from Fleur Tremmel to J. Carter Napier, dated March 27th, 2023. Exhibit number 2, affidavit of publication as published in the Casper Star Tribune, dated March 27th, 2023.
Thank you, sir. Mr. City Manager, do you have a report?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, councilors. The basic thrust with regard to the changes that are being proposed for council's review during this process is essentially to try to get local ordinance to match the capacities that have been changed at the statutory level and bring those into more consistent observance. Certainly one of the items as it relates to these changes is in connection with serving times. This ordinance would make those times more consistent. We do have the city clerk here tonight who can answer a number of questions more specific than I could probably. And so for any of that, I'd probably want to defer to her or the city attorney.
Very good. Thank you. Council will now listen to public comment. Public hearing comments are limited to 5 minutes. No duplication of speakers will be allowed. If you're attending virtually and would like to speak, please raise your hand on the Teams meeting. Seth, I don't see your hand, but I'm assuming this is the one you want to speak to. Thank you. Okay, the floor is yours, 5 minutes.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor and members of council. I'd like to take the opportunity today to address my thoughts on the current proposal to move the limited liquor license hours of service from 9 a.m. to 6 a.m. And separately to suggest an opportunity to enhance responsible alcohol services in our community through a responsible venue program. I strongly urge the City Council to reject the proposal to move liquor license hours of service to 6 a.m. for the following reasons. Increased risk of alcohol-related incidents. Early morning alcohol service may lead to an increased risk of alcohol-related incidents, which can strain our law enforcement and emergency services. Potential public health concerns. Early alcohol service may contribute to an increase in alcohol-related health problems, negatively impacting our community overall's well-being. Increased risk of commuters, and I think this is the big one. Early morning alcohol service could increase the risk of alcohol-impaired drivers on the road during morning commutes and endanger the lives of our citizens. Separately, I believe while City Council is reviewing alcohol ordinances, there's an opportunity to provide additional opportunities for licenses and patrons while developing proactive strategies to increase higher standards of responsible alcohol service in our community. A program such as offering extended hours for special events to venues that meet agreed upon criteria could accomplish this in a mutually beneficial way. I would encourage City Council to explore the possibility of implementing a responsible venue program, which would grant extended hours of service for special events to venues that demonstrate a commitment to responsible alcohol service and public safety. This program could provide a powerful incentive to venues to maintain high standards of service and contribute to a safer community overall. I have sent extensive information via email already to support my proposal, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Additionally, I'm open to sitting down with city officials to discuss my program at length and work together to create a plan that benefits both the community and local businesses. In conclusion, I respectfully ask that council reject the proposal to move limited liquor license hours to 6 a.m. and to consider the implementation of a responsible drinking program or responsible venue program as a means to improve responsible alcohol service within our community. I'm open to questions if you have any at this time.
Does anyone have any questions for Seth? Kyle? Or Counselor Gamroth, excuse me. You're muted again.
Holy crap.
Welcome.
A millennial that worked remotely for 3 years, you'd think I'd learn by now. But no questions. Just wanted to thank you, Seth, for your comments. I think you bring up some interesting ideas, and I look forward to discussing them a little bit more at length later on. Thanks.
Thank you. I also appreciate you coming, Seth. It's always good to hear from our community members, so thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay. At this time, I would ask for those individuals who wish to speak in favor of an ordinance amending liquor code sections to please approach the lectern, which there's no one here other than staff, or in opposition, actually, at this point. Okay, very good. There being no one to speak for or against, I now declare the public hearing closed. Please read the ordinance by title only.
An ordinance approving amendments to the Liquor License Code, Sections 5.08, 150, and 5.08.390.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion to approve on first reading the ordinance just read.
So moved.
I'm sorry, who? Give me a hand if you would. Was that you, Vice Mayor? Oh, Kyle. Moved by Councilor Gamroth, seconded by Councilor Haskins. Discussion. Councilor Gamroth.
Thank you, Mayor. I got it this time. Nice. Thanks again to Seth for bringing up some points as it relates to public safety. I am personally not in favor of this at this time. My guess and my hope is that the revenue generation would be minimal if we were to move the sale hours back 3 hours. And I think the revenue generation is just one consideration we need to make. Seth brought up other ones as far as increasing the amount of hours. That has an effect on crime and public safety. And I don't necessarily want this council to be seen as enabling or encouraging drinking at 6, 7 in the morning. I think that's a tad early, not to be the moral police. But so yeah, I guess I just don't believe that the benefit versus the risk weighs favorably for us at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Some things to consider. Councilor Bond, you're up next. Some things to consider with this is, one, I think the main driver behind this is to put us in line with what the state is doing, so that we are running the same schedule that the state runs. That's true, correct, Mr. City Manager?
Mr. Mayor, certainly the statutes allow for that, but that doesn't mean that the council is obligated to make those changes. The challenge that we have within the array of license holders that the council oversees is, by moving it to 6, you will have a very consistent application of time throughout all of the categories of license holders, but council is absolutely able to have whatever hours you'd like to see with regard to whatever classification you have.
Okay, thank you. The other point I was going to make is we do have a substantial night shift that works in our town, in the oil industry and the warehousing districts. They get off, hospice, yeah, they get off at 6 o'clock in the morning and may want to go have a drink, and who are we to say, sorry, you have to get a day job if you want to have a drink after work. So I don't know that I'm buying the argument that 3 extra hours is making that big a difference. I think it's catering to a clientele that works a completely different shift. So just something to think about. Councilor Bond.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say I share some of the same concerns I think Councilor Gamroth has and Seth mentioned. I also want to thank Seth for being here today as well. And just wanting to get some clarity around the rationale. You mentioned a couple, Bruce, the shift workers. There was one mentioned in the letter from the city clerk about early tea times. And then the third, of course, is, as the city manager referred to, the consistency with the state statute. I would like to learn more about Seth's proposal around the responsible venue owners. I'm very intrigued by that idea. So, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Gamroth.
Thank you, Mayor. I would concur with Councillor Bond that I'm interested in exploring a potential incentive program or some sort of reward system. Or actually, to start off, I'd love a presentation from the chief on exactly what the consequences and potential incentives are for liquor license holders, and then see if there's some opportunity to, you know, really reinforce the positive behaviors that we're looking to see from the community. The question I had, I apologize, I'm a bit frazzled. So in the memo, it sounds like we're just talking about clubs, but my reading of the memo led me to the understanding that this applies to all limited retail liquor license holders. I was just curious if somebody could fill me in on who other than clubs are categorized as limited retail liquor license. Who are we talking about here? Just clubs or holders of a variety? Thank you.
Floor.
Your Honor, members of council, yes, so it is basically clubs, so that includes your VFWs, any social clubs, as well as golf courses. So it's called limited, and golf courses are considered clubs under that rule.
Thank you.
Okay.
So just to clarify.
Hold on.
I'm sorry.
Hold on. Vice Mayor?
I think Haskins was before me, Mayor.
Yeah, I can't hear you, sir.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I think Councilor Haskins was before me. She can go.
I'm sorry, you weren't on my screen, and you are actually, Brandy. Please forgive me.
Thank you, Mayor. Chop liver over here.
No.
So I did want to, no, you're fine. I did want to clarify my understanding, and my understanding is clubs would be the VFW, so thank you, Floor. Our bar's already open at 6 a.m., so this is just including the clubs and the golf courses. So it's not just matching state statute, it's making it across the board for everyone in Casper. And my second thing is, while I am open to listening to Seth and your idea for the 4 a.m., obviously for this particular amendment, it's completely separate. But I am interested in hearing if the chief has any weigh-in on this additional problems with police and traffic and all of that. But I did just want to clarify that we already are open at 6 a.m. for everyone except the golfers that want to drink their beers on the golf course.
And the VFW. Yes, ma'am.
Exactly.
Yep. Thank you. And Ray, thanks for pointing that out. Councilor Vice Mayor. Oh, goodness.
You're good.
Vice Mayor Pacheco, you are up.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. It's exactly what Councilor Haskins said. It was what I was going to mention, that we're already there. And so she took that from me, but that's perfect. Yep. So I reiterate that. So thanks, Councilor Haskins.
Thank you. Councilor Jensen.
Thank you. I also want to just add too that just because they are allowed to change their hours doesn't necessarily mean that those social clubs will change their hours of operation to serve earlier, correct? Right?
That's correct. That's correct.
I mean, nobody's going to force them to change their hours and start serving earlier if they open up at 9.
That's right, but I have a hard time if a veteran wants to have a beer at 6 a.m. telling him he can't do it. So
exactly.
After they've served our country. But, Chief, would you mind coming to the podium, sir? A question was raised by one of the counselors, and I concur. Would you see a drastic or any difference in allowing, we're literally talking about probably the VFW, the Eagles, the Elks Club, and the golf course, allowing them to open 3 hours earlier like every other liquor establishment? Do you see an issue with this?
Mayor,
council, thank you for the opportunity to opine on this.
Please.
Statistically, we already do not deal with a lot of this. I can't imagine that it would have a statistically relevant impact on public safety in our community.
And that was my assumption, but I wanted it from the big dog, so thank you. And in closing, I will say, and we'll wait, like they said earlier, for another time with Seth's idea. I did read through your emails, and a lot of that stuff are for big cities. They're not geared for a town our size, and you would never get me to vote to allow a bar to be open at 4 o'clock in the morning, ever. That's just not going to happen in my voting privileges anyway. So anyway, with that said, do we have any amendments? No? Please. Sorry, Mr. Cathy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I hate to make the chief walk back up here again, but what do you wind up seeing if we were to go from 2 to 4 a.m. on closing times?
Mayor.
Please.
Council, again, thank you for the opportunity to offer some perspective on that. The clientele that we deal with during the evening hours is a different clientele. It's a substantially larger clientele, meaning there are more members of our community that are engaged in that activity late at night. The aftermath of that, that traditional last call is a moment of impact on public safety that causes a high degree or a much higher number of DUI crashes, DUI investigations, things of that nature. I think the sheer volumes involved with the flip side of that, rather than having extended hours early in the morning when very, very few people are going to take advantage of that, and most clubs probably aren't even going to go that way because they have to staff for that, is completely different from the volume of persons that would be engaged in those activities late at night, especially on weekends and holidays. And I believe that would have a statistically relevant impact on public safety in our community. Certainly on my staffing requirements for providing public safety services during those historically would be less involved hours. And I would have to increase my staffing during that time period to account for that increase in potentially problematic behaviors.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
One other thing I guess I'd want to mention too, if I may, is there's a lot of golf tournaments I know that start at 7 o'clock in the morning in the summertime, and Bloody Marys are usually on the agenda for a Saturday morning golf, and the way it is right now, that would not be able to happen. So anyway, Councilor Ingebretson.
I just had a question. If somebody had a special event, they could apply for some type of a variance or whatever for that special event to have their bar or whatever open later hours, correct? So like, what was it, Halloween, New Year's Eve, things of that nature?
Floor.
Your Honor, councilors. So council does have the ability to pass a resolution which would change the hours 4 times a year and extend those hours. So I don't know if it would be on a per event basis for just an individual.
So it's more of a citywide, yes. All the bars can be open till 4 a.m. this
Correct.
Particular day.
Correct.
Okay. Did you have a follow-up, Lisa? Or? Okay. All right. With the discussion and closed, no amendments, please cast your vote on the first reading. Kyle, you're not in the frame. He's a no. Michael's a no.
I am voting no.
The other 3, 1, 2, 3 are good to go, and then whatever we did. So please record the vote.
With Councilor Pollock abstaining and Councilors Gamroth and Bond voting nay, and all others voting aye, virtual and in person, the motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Council will now consider consent resolutions. Please read the consent resolutions by title only.
8A1, authorizing an agreement with Sheet Metal Specialties Incorporated for the wastewater collections building HVAC upgrades. 8A2, authorizing change order number 4 to the agreement with Insiduform Technologies LLC for the North Platte Sanitary Sewer Rehabilitation. 8A3, authorizing the acceptance of the 2022 BJA Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant and a memorandum of understanding between the City of Casper and Natrona County regarding the distribution and expenditure of the grant funds. 8A4, authorizing a contract for professional services between the City of Casper and Motorola Solutions Incorporated to create a citizen engagement portal for the Casper Police Department. And 8A5, authorizing amendment number 1 to the contract for professional services between the City of Casper and Felsberg, Holt, and Ullevig Incorporated.
Chair would entertain a motion to adopt the consent items just read.
So moved.
Moved by Councilor Engebretson.
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Cathy. City Manager, would you like to comment on any of these items?
No, sir.
Thank you. Any abstentions or nay votes? Please cast your vote. And please record the vote.
With all councilors virtual and in person voting aye, the motion passes.
Thank you. Please read the consent minute action titles.
9A1, authorizing the purchase of 2 new 2-ton crew cab with dual rear wheels, cab and chassis for use by the Casper Fire EMS Department. 9A2, authorizing the purchase of 1 new half-ton 4x4 super cab pickup truck with 6.5-foot bed for use by the Buildings and Structures Division of the Parks, Recreation, and Public Facilities Department. 9A3, authorizing the purchase of 1 new front-end wheel loader for use by the Solid Waste Division of the Public Services Department. And 9A4, authorizing the purchase of 1 new 14-foot dump trailer for use by the Parks Division of the Parks, Recreation, and Public Facilities Department.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion to approve the consent minute action and agenda items just read. Moved by Councilor Jensen.
Seconded.
Sorry? Who was it?
I'll second.
Haskins, thank you. Councilor Haskins, thank you for your second. Any abstentions or nay votes? Okay, please record the vote, or please cast your vote, excuse me. And please record the vote.
With all councilors virtual and in person voting aye, the motion passes.
Okay, at this time we ask councilors to bring forward relevant concerns or items of interest. I will start with Councilor Engebretson.
Nothing for me tonight. Just tell everybody to stay safe and warm out there.
Thank you. And before we move on, don't forget we do have an executive session tonight, so don't leave us. Councilor Gamroth.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple things. We had an Old Yellowstone District meeting last Monday. We talked about all the road work beginning this year in that area of town, specifically Midwest reconstruction, Poplar Street, and the Three Crowns golf course renovation. Those are all going to be happening this summer, so that area is going to be a bit of a mess entering downtown from the west side. So I guess just be mindful of that, be patient. It's all work that needs done. It'll be painful, but we'll get through it. Jeffree Star's ranch manager Michael gave an update on their store downtown. Apparently asbestos was found in the windows, and so that set back their opening because you got to get experts in and remediate it and everything. So they're looking at late May, early June for opening up of that retail space. And then we also talked about the OID's been given a lot more thought and consideration into how that group can coordinate better with the Downtown Development Authority. So talking about some opportunities for collaboration through the summer months, lending of resources where and when necessary. Wanted to give a shout out to our aquatic center for their Easter egg hunt over the weekend. I didn't go, but it looked like it was well attended, looked like a lot of fun. And then lastly, I just wanted to, we just had the first reading tonight, so there'll be plenty of opportunities to speak about this, but I do think it's interesting to see, just how easily we continue to liberalize alcohol laws, and yet again, clutch our pearls anytime we talk about cannabis decriminalization. And so, despite the fact that 40% of all crime in Natrona County is alcohol involved, despite the fact, Mayor, you mentioned the freedom a veteran should have to have a drink in the morning, veterans also die by suicide at a much higher rate, and many people who take their lives are under the influence of alcohol at the time. And so it is just interesting to me to see how easily it is to liberalize alcohol laws, and yet we get completely skittish anytime we talk about reducing regulation in other areas. So again, we'll have the opportunity to talk about that more in the next couple readings. And I appreciate y'all always entertaining me on the subject. That's all I got. Thanks.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Haskins?
Everything I had, Kyle stole. So I just want to say I'm going to be meeting with Michael and I with the judge on the 11th, so we'll report after that.
Excellent. Thank you. Counselor Bond?
Thank you, Mayor.
Certainly.
Get to my note here. So a couple of things. I attended the Senior Services Board meeting on March 27th, and just wanted to mention to everybody a couple of things. They have a fundraiser, their major fundraiser, on May 6th. I think Councilor Gamroth and Vice Mayor Pacheco are on the docket to be horse racers or jockeys at the event, I believe. But I have tickets for sale if anyone would like to buy a ticket. I think it's $50 a couple. It's May 6th. And I just wanted to give a shout out to Zalima Lopez for her, she got rave praise from the senior board for her help and support and helping clarify some things about their lease and so forth. Also attended the Homeless Issues Task Force meeting last week. It was my first time to be able to attend. It just worked out schedule-wise. Councilor Gamroth was there as well. Liz Becker led the meeting. Shout out to Liz. She did a nice job of organizing the meeting. It seems to have the right people at the table from the community, the VA, some downtown business folks, and so forth. And all seem very committed and are doing a great deal of research to kind of solve the problem. But I'm sure Councilor Gamroth could give you more detail there. Next, just quick, I did attend the Nicolason Color Theory reception last Friday. If you get a chance, they have a show, a Color Theory exhibit in the main gallery that was curated by Nancy Madura from Casper College. And also coming up, there is the Wyoming Secondary Art Educators Association. Their Wyoming High School Arts Symposium is coming up here a little bit later this month. So a lot of high school students coming into town will be, flooding the Nicolason and getting to benefit from that exhibit as well. And then the rest of their events are all happening up at the event center, I believe. But good influx of people into Casper. And then finally, there is on April 13th, I believe it is. It's a Thursday. Art 321 has their wearable fashion exhibit is opening, and there'll be an opening reception on the evening of Thursday, April 13th. And we'll give an update about the municipal court committee after that meeting.
Thank you, Counselor.
Thank you.
Counselor Pollock?
Thank you. I did not have any committee meetings last week, so I don't have any reports for you there, and I won't next week either. All of my stuff seems to be concentrated to that third week of the month, so you can look forward to fourth week updates from me that are heavier. But nothing today other than to say thanks to so many folks who are, keeping things moving here in town as well as can be hoped. Saw a number of folks giving praise to different city employees that they've interacted with over the last couple of days, helping them out and making sure that they're safe and able to get where they need to go and that sort of thing. So thanks to all those folks, and thanks for most citizens. I've seen hardly any cars out on the street in my street today, so a lot of folks heeding that no unnecessary travel advisory making sure that people are staying home and staying safe. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Vice Mayor Pacheco. Are you frozen again, Vice Mayor?
I don't know what's up with my internet. You guys hear me okay?
Might be the snow.
That's what I'll do. I'll blame the snow.
The floor is yours, sir.
I don't have anything to report on this week, but again, just reiterating and saying thank you to all the people that have put the time and effort in this last couple days. Please be safe and help out your neighbor. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Councilor Cathy.
The first thing I'd like to say is for those people that have been season ticket holders to the CNFR, if you want to maintain your season tickets, you need to get those notifications into the ticket office by this, basically, Monday the 10th. Otherwise, they will be relinquished to the general public. So if you want to continue there, you need to get your money in. The second thing I would like to do is I would like to commend the plow drivers and the maintenance staff at the garage for being able to keep that equipment on the road and the job that the plow drivers are doing. Because I know for the hours that equipment's been out there, there's been some serious maintenance work going on as well. And I don't want those people to be forgotten and left out, because that is also a dedicated work there. And people, please give the plow drivers some room. They are trying to do the best they can. Those trucks don't turn on a dime, and you could sneak up on them if you're not careful. So be careful. That's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Jensen?
You betcha. So, echoing Steve, thank you. I appreciate all of the city workers doing their job and making us safe. And also, just along those same lines, it's nice as we're all trying to shovel out, if you have extra time or the equipment to help your elderly neighbors or just neighbors that need, that would probably help them out and be appreciated. And it's always nice to see the community working together to help everyone. A couple other things. Over the past weekend, the PBR was in town, so that was awesome to see Casper show up for that, and everybody had a great time. The Chamber of Commerce has a few events that are coming up. The Post Ledge is coming up next, or is it this week? Next week. And then there's the annual dinner, but check out their website. It's updated daily, and there's also some voting that's going on for your local businesses that are going to get awards at the annual dinner. So check out the Chamber of Commerce's webpage for that. The DCBA has a shop hop that's going to be happening, so they have a bunch of eggs that when you go into those stores downtown that you are able to pick out an egg, and it has a coupon for another establishment down in that area. Let's see, I guess that's it. That's all I got.
Thank you, Counselor. I just have a few things. Again, thanks to our city crews for doing the absolute best they can. We decided to shut the city down today and give them an opportunity to, and it looks like most of the people stayed off the streets, so that's always a good thing. Our police department was being overtaxed, and so were our street crews. So we have broken records, and with this snowfall, but we're going to make it through it just like we Wyoming people do, and thank all the folks that get us there. Casper Municipal Band, Mr. Bond, we're going to get with Renee tomorrow and find out when that meeting is for you and Jenna, and we'll get that information out to you in an email. April 16th is the Boys and Girls Dream Essay Contest. It's on a Sunday. I'll be attending. If anyone's interested, they'll buy you dinner if you come and support the kids. So, but you'd have to let me know fairly quick. CNFR is coming up. We're within 2 months, and we just had our monthly meeting yesterday. Yeah, and they're adding a new event on Sunday, on Family Day, and it's going to be mutton busting, which is, if you've ever seen it, is the best event I've ever seen in a rodeo. 4 to 7 years old, less than 55 pounds, and they jump on a sheep and hang on for dear life while that sheep is running like crazy. And if you would like to participate in that, and you're between the ages, or have a child that's between the ages of 4 and 7 and weighs less than 55 pounds, you will have to purchase your ticket to get in that day, and they're going to take the first 25 young people that sign up, and I know they can win a buckle. So, and in front of that crowd, that would be pretty fun, I would think. So you can also look on the CNFR website for more information. I want to apologize to the citizens of Casper. I gave out a proclamation on April Fool's Day, and I told little Miss Winter that she had to leave and there was no more snow, and then she literally pounded me 2 days later. So shows you how much pull I have with her, I guess. So sorry for that. I believe this is the last weekend for Hogadon, and this is Easter weekend, and it is going to be some of the best skiing of the year. And I was talking to the city manager earlier. I don't remember an Easter where we've ever been able to ski at Hogadon. So if that's something you like to do, go take advantage of it, because this is it, and there's a lot of snow up there. That's all I have, other than have a wonderful Easter weekend, and I hope you enjoy it for what it's meant to be. A notice of an executive session to take place at this date during this meeting was given. We have matters to discuss regarding personnel and litigation. Therefore, the chair would entertain a motion to adjourn into executive session, and at the conclusion of that executive session to reconvene this regular meeting solely for the purposes of adjournment of this regular meeting.
So moved.
Moved by Councilor Cathy, seconded by Councilor Jensen. There being a majority of members present and virtual, and a motion to adjourn into an executive session having been moved and seconded, that motion requiring a 2/3 majority of council present, please cast your vote. And please record the vote.
With all councilors virtual and in person voting aye, the motion passes.
Thank you. A greater than 2/3 majority of the council present voted in favor of the motion. We are hereby adjourned into executive session. And we are going to do that right here. And if it's all the same, once we clear the room,